Claire, Airfield Estate in Dundrum in Dublin, you've always had a sustainability ethos. Where did that come from originally?
Well, we're very fortunate because sustainability is in our DNA and very much in our heritage of the estate. So for those people who don't know, Airfield Estate, beautiful 38 acres just near Dundrum Shopping Centre, which was left in trust to the people of Ireland by the Overend family. So two amazing ladies, way ahead of their time. They were doing sustainability before we even knew it was called sustainability. So very much focused around how they could support the local community and also how they could support the environment. So they set up the farm, which we continue to have today and bring visitors in. So that really, it's not something new for Airfield. I suppose it's just really how we package it up now.
And when did they leave it to the state? How long ago was that? And how I know you're kind of only in the role 12 months or so it kind of predated you, but how did the ethos continue after the sisters passed to sort of, the current management?
Yeah, so they left it in trust in 1974, and there is a very oldie worldy charter with interesting language that basically said it should be used for education and recreational purposes. And really, I suppose where we're at now is looking at what does that charter mean today in the context of what's going on within the external world, but also at the end of the day, we are a charity. So what does it mean in the context of the charity, the charity regulations? So that was 1974. The two sisters, there was 20 years between them. The younger one died in the late 90s. We had a couple of years of running the estate, and then we closed 12 years ago for a redevelopment. And I think it was at that point that we really started to look at how we could bring sustainability on the 38 acres to life in everything that we do. And that was very much, I suppose, at the time when people have been starting to talk about it, whether within their business or their charity. So the planets aligned, I suppose, is the best way to explain it.
And I've always felt, even way back, I've always felt that Airfield were way ahead of the rest of, society in terms of sustainable practices. And it's an actual living, functioning, active farm. As you say, it's a stone's throw from Dundrum Shopping Centre. So it's quite a contrast. Tell us a little bit about sort of the education, because I presume there's an awful lot of sort of, Irish people, international visitors, schools and stuff who actually learn, who may not have been on a farm before and are learning about sort of sustainable food practices.
Yeah, so as I said, education is very much part of our charter. I think in the early years, probably 10 years ago after the redevelopment, the focus was on things like you would expect, the school tours, of which we continue to do today. We've about 12,000 kids who come on the estate, so it's a very busy May and June. But that very much...
And it's a great day out, I can testify to that.
Thanks very much. So I suppose what we've looked at in terms of education, a couple of things to evolve it from just being a school tour. So we very much focus now around how we can, what we call disrupt the curriculum. So we won a really fantastic program called Farmer Time, where a farmer is matched with a school. Every 2 weeks, the farmer zooms into the classroom, has a little chat with the class about what's going on. So we have about 100 farmers matched with 100 schools. And these are farmers from all around the country who I think my sense is that the farming community is having a very difficult time in terms of their impact on climate change. And actually, our farmers really enjoy the opportunity of getting in front of the kids. The teachers really enjoy it too, because it's a nice little distraction. So that's been super successful. I suppose the question now is, what about gardener time or chef time or scientist time? We'd be thinking about that. We also run a junior search short course from the ground up, which is all about getting kids interested in food and how it is used throughout the curriculum. And I think from our point of view then, just going back to the estate, yes, it is about the school tours, but it's also about the families that come here throughout the week. We would really hope that they would leave learning something new. But I mean, like many people, we're really after behavior change. That's what we want to happen.
Yeah. And I suppose that's at the heart of your vision to be a sustainable food hub as well. Tell us a little bit about that, because it's not just to be a sustainable food hub, but it's to be a sustainable food hub within a sustainable food city. So, it's bigger than just the estate.
Yeah, so when I joined a year ago, the brief from the board to me was to take us outside of the four walls of Dundrum, to be a leading voice in food sustainability. At the same time, being a visitor attraction, welcoming the visitors through the gates.
Yeah.
And so really we spent a lot of time last year working on our ambition. And yes, we want to be known as Dublin's Sustainable Food Hub. I think it's really important, from a leadership point of view, that you pick one ambition, lads. It's so much easier for the team just to be driving towards one thing. But more broader than that, kind of the outside of the four walls piece is that Dublin will be a sustainable food city. Sustainable cities being SDG 11, so that's already within the SDGs. And really, what we would like to do is to act as a collaborator, as putting partnerships, a facilitator of bringing different people together who can really help Dublin in that sustainable food cities. But early days, it's the focus for this year is really about sorting, getting the estate back in action.
Yeah.
COVID and having the events, and then looking to the external piece.
Yeah, and the food city idea. So you talk about collaboration. So would you be working closely with, say, Fáilte Ireland or BIA, or kind of it's kind of nearly a public-private collaboration, is it?
Yeah, that's the intention, is very much to bring other partners with us. That could be for the likes of, Food Cloud, or, UCD is down the road. So, our intention is very much not to do it on our own, but it needs to be in the context of, from a visitor attraction point of view. And I think it's a really nice space for us to be in, because we are totally independent. We can have an opinion on things that we have a legitimacy in talking about. But really, we want to move much towards policy change.
Yeah.
We set up our first youth board a couple of weeks ago, which is 14 young people from around the country, aged 15 to 18. Their job is to help me in terms of the strategy and how it's going to be implemented. But we've been working with Bite Back, so that's Jamie Oliver's campaigning charity. So, the school meals, Marcus Rashford, that campaign. Yeah. So we would like our group to lobby for something, but I can't say what it is. It needs to come from them. You know?
And you talk about policy. How well do you think Irish tourism is set for the sustainability challenge? Because your background is food. I think you said Danone, and you were there for a number of years. And Danone had a very strong reputation in terms of sustainability. So you've come into the tourism sector. Obviously, the climate action goals that the government has signed up to are very demanding out to 2030, and indeed, I think it's carbon neutral by 2050. How well is the broader tourism sector? I mean, you guys are leaders in it, but what you've seen from sort of the wider tourism sector, are we up for the challenge?
I think for a lot of people, it's all, and it's the same even from a corporate commercial point of view, it's very overwhelming. Yeah. Where do you start? But the big thing that I've started to think about a lot more recently is, where is the sustainability sweet spot?
Yeah.
So yes, I can turn around and say to food and beverage, meat-free Wednesdays, vegan-only desserts, but is that what my customer wants? And will they pay for that? So, and certainly that would have been the sense from Danone. At the end of the day, especially at the moment with everyone watching their wallets, sustainability costs, and that's very challenging, whatever sector you're in. I think the other interesting piece for me is the opportunity for more kind of cross collaboration on topics. So the food industry would have been super strong on food waste, for example. A lot of work has happened in that space. So what can the tourism industry learn? How can we join the dots a little, rather than people having to reinvent the wheel? Yeah. And then the big piece for me, which is I suppose something I'm still very passionate about, is the accreditation side. So this idea of like a third party auditing, making sure you're actually doing what you're say you're doing. And
because there is a concern that, everyone talks about green and, virtue signaling, and, there's a fear of greenwashing, and that serves nobody's interest. Whereas I suppose accreditation sort of solves that, doesn't it? Because as you say, it's a third party who's giving the accreditation.
Yeah, and I think the idea of having a bit like what I talked about, one ambition, one accreditation that all different types of companies or organizations could go for, rather than one for the tourism industry, one for the food industry. And certainly the one that I've been involved in is B Corp. So B Corp, you are audited on how you treat your staff, the environment, your governance, your customer, and your communities. It's extremely onerous to get. I think about 100,000 companies have gone for it. There's about 6,000 globally. But certainly, we were in LA on our holidays in the summer, and B Corp was everywhere. It was in shop windows. It was on brands. My 17-year-old niece knew exactly what it was. So I think it's definitely something for organizations here to look at. Waitrose will be super supportive of it in the UK. They have a Waitrose B Corp hub. They can see a 62% uplift in the 24 to 35-year-old age group choosing B Corp brands over non-B Corp brands. That's the data there. There's definitely an interest, and I think it's only a matter of time if we see more B Corp brands here in Ireland.
And it's a complex area in a way, isn't it? Because as you say, it's quite intimidating when you first look at the sustainability challenge and you look at all those targets and carbon emissions and stuff. It's quite intimidating, and it's multifaceted as well, because sustainability is both commercial, because as you say, you have to get the visitors through the door, buying a ticket, spending something in the shop or the cafe. That sustains your business commercially, but also obviously we have to be environmentally sustainable and socially sustainable. So it's a big one, but I like your idea of pick one priority and go for that. And we could be spread too thin across too many areas if we focus too widely.
And I also think, the visitor attraction tourism sector is so well positioned to educate the public more on these topics. I've been thinking about, we got our PV panels connected, and really what I want now is one on a wall somewhere that people can touch. There's a little QR code, they can have a little read. It's all well and good to have them on the roofs, but actually what you want is to make it more tangible for people, and not be, the other one for us is our aerobic digester. Like, that's down the back. Really what we want is these things. If you're doing them, you want them to be upfront. And the other piece, which I still think we need to get better at, is the storytelling around it. And how we bring it to life within the visitor attraction. What's the piece that people are leaving with once they've been here and have had a lovely time? But how can we really look at the storytelling?
Yeah, great. How's the season looking, Claire, at Airfield? Because you've obviously got a number of balls in the air that you're juggling with, but ultimately you have to bring visitors in who spend their hard-earned cash.
Exactly. So very exciting. We're opening our first exhibition in 10 years. So it's 3 geodomes, very cool, interconnected, and the exhibition is all about soil. So from our perspective, we do a lot on the estate around regenerative agriculture, organic horticulture. There's a lot of conversation in climate change around the oceans and air quality. Nobody's really talking about soil. So, and hopefully it'll be fun and interactive. There'll be opportunity to get down and dirty. So that'll be opening in early May. So really exciting for us to have something new on the estate. And then just looking at, the program of events. Like, people are interested in sustainability. So the other offering that we're pulling together is a sustainability day at Airfield. So you can come with your team, you can learn how to compost, you can volunteer in the community garden, you can cook with produce from the estate, and you can have your business meeting as well. So that people will leave having learned something. And I think that's super important, especially for businesses that, like, everyone's talking about sustainability, but what does it actually mean? And I think Airfield is well placed to do that.
Yeah, Sustainability Day, great idea. Claire, thank you so much for doing one of these ITIC AIB sustainability stories. We wish you every good wish going forward, both from a commercial sense, but crucially from an environmental sustainability front. And you're definitely one of the leaders in our sector. Thank you so much.
Thanks very much.